We run such a well-oiled machine, me and John. It's nice to just have a monkey wrench thrown at us.
Or an Allan wrench.
Thank you. Yeah. And, bam! Snap.
That's the name of the episode. Oh, my God.
We nailed it. Are you going to do a singing? Are you going to do a singing intro?
I don't do a singing intro. No, I just do. You're free to do a singing intro if you want.
No.
Welcome to Predator Minute, the podcast that breaks down the 1987 action sci-fi horror suspense classic Predator 1 minute at a time. I'm John Zabriskie.
And I'm Jeff Glover.
And I'm Allan Batchelder.
Hey, we have a new guest, Allan Batchelder. How are you, Allan?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm actually sort of vaguely related to this. It was my profession before I became a teacher.
Oh, so the designing of explosions, is that what we're talking about?
Exactly. I burned down a forest once, but I don't talk about that much.
You raided guerrilla camps for a living?
Yes.
Fantastic.
You picked up a humongous truck and sent it flying into a guerrilla camp with all sorts of explosives.
It was a Tonka truck.
All right. Well, glad to have you today with us, Allan.
Yes, it's great to be here at last.
All right. At long last, after many technical difficulties, we are all together. Okay. And today we're talking about minute 26 of Predator. Minute 26 opens with Dylan telling the team where to target and ends with Panchito and Hawkins running down some camp stairs. And Allan, you being new to this show, just to give you a heads up, we usually just kind of carry through the minute chronologically from beginning to end, talking about all sorts of action and acting and non-acting and explosions, basically. So, yeah.
Well, I was really going to hone in on the different acting techniques offered by the artists in this particular oeuvre.
All right.
We have a lot of good screams here. We got guys flying off springboards. We got squibs. We got splatter. We got explosions. You came at the right time, Allan. This is a good minute.
Heck yeah. Yeah, there's still quite a bit of fighting going on. Well, I won't call it fighting. There's still quite a bit of wiping out being done by this team of basically Jasons with guns.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there's a lot of carnage in this one. We get guys on fire. We get guys flying through the air. We get guys dying by gunfire. We get a massive number of deaths. Our death count is going to go up significantly once again.
With the death count, yeah. So, Jeff, you want to start us off on where we begin with this minute?
Yeah, let's start from the beginning. So, beginning of the minute carries over from last minute, and Dylan is behind the rock.
Dylan!
And he says, "Target the center of the palapa."
Targets the center of the palapa!
Which is a great line.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that makes me laugh so much, but...
it's because they're blowing everything up already, willy-nilly. There's no reason to say, what exact part. I don't think any building is left standing at the end of this.
I wish the other guy had called back and be like, "Oh, good, because I was about to shoot the side of the palapa."
Well, the other thing is palapa is such a festive word,
We'll take a nice siesta at the end. Heck yeah.
Palapa! Are you wearing your palapa today?
Yeah, so, okay, so just for the audience, this is a very frenetic, fast-paced minute. So we're going to do our best to take it piece by piece, but literally this minute is made up of 1 and 2 second cuts. So I'll do my best to break it down here and not miss anything. But so he says, "Target the center of the palapa."
Targets the center of the palapa!
And kind of runs off towards the explosion.
Yep.
And then we cut to Panchito, kind of running through the brush here. And Panchito gets on the action here, doesn't he?
Oh, totally. He just starts popping the grenade out.
Well, see, this part, I think, demonstrates his sensitive side, because he shoots the guys with a grenade gun. They blow up and catch on fire, but then they're gently planted in a pond of water behind the
these guys almost immediately. They explode from the roof of the palapa and then land in some unusually soft leaves at the bottom.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing here. We do have some guys falling in the water in the next minute, though. Yeah. So Alan, I wonder, did you watch the same minute that we all watched, Alan?
So you're talking about minute 26.
Yeah, which goes from 25 minutes to 26 minutes.
Yeah, you know what? This is turning into the best minute of my life. Just getting on here and being called out and having watched the wrong minute 700 times. But I still feel qualified to make all kinds of charming observations.
Yes.
For instance, it occurred to me this is the first film in history to have 2 future governors in the cast.
Yeah. That was pretty cool.
That is a good one. We get lots of Jesse Ventura doing his kind of, what was the last minute, John? He brought back some of his wrestling cred.
Yeah, he totally just
over his shoulder.
Yeah, flipped the lookout from the lookout perch right into the jungle. Just totally did a body slam kind of maneuver.
All right, and Panchito then comes around the corner. He's running through the brush, and he runs right up to the tree and gets in on the action. Is that right? What does Panchito do here when
he launches a beautiful grenade from his custom 6-shooter grenade launcher, converted by Stembridge Armory from a flare launcher and different submachine gun parts. He launches into a looks like the top story of a palapa, maybe like a little sun porch, and that a couple of guys are in shooting out at him. And it's again one of these blink and you miss it things that I'm finding with Craig Baxley's editing or Craig Baxley's filming, and then whoever's editing, is that there's so much going on that it's a shame to me that we're not like able to linger on some of these scenes longer, because if you freeze frame it right as he fires it, it's blowing up the guys on the second level sun porch, and at the same time there's a guy running below who's on fire, and he's like jumping out of the screen. It's like, why not linger on that? I want to see that more. And even
I know. And once again, we get like the classic stuntman on fire thing where he's like waving his arms and running around. But it cuts away so fast that we don't get to really see it much.
There's a lot of that coming up in the next minute.
Oh, spoiler alert for what we call minute 27 in the biz.
Yeah. These people are especially flammable. The other thing I noticed is that their aim is about as good as stormtroopers.
Yeah,
there's 40 of them, and Blaine's the only one who gets nicked.
It's terribly bad, and like with the body count that we see by the end of this minute, it's stacking up in the good guy's favor at an alarming rate.
I know. Even as they're shooting at Poncho, they just destroy this palm tree that he's behind.
Right,
but nothing gets him.
That was a pretty cool effect, actually. I like the splintering of the tree all up and down the side.
And they actually, I think, reused this shot from a previous minute. Or no, it's weird. They reused this shot in the previous minute, if that makes any sense, because they take this shot after the tree's been all shot up and they place it back in the previous minute and they shoot in the grenade. But what's different about when he shoots this grenade is that you see his viewpoint from behind Panchito, and that is not Panchito. That's like Ponchissimo. That's like a bigger Poncho from back.
That is some dude from a like auto repair shop that they just grabbed.
He has a little bit more mass than our little Panchito, our little sensitive Panchito.
Yeah, clearly a stunt double there. But man, this explosion that we get, I love how he shoots towards the second story for whatever reason, takes out those 2 guys. And it's a good one. Like, they then zoom in on these 2 guys who springboard off the top. They do a front flip. And if you look at it frame by frame, you can see them land in some
really soft leaves.
But then it really, really quickly cuts away. So if you're watching it real time, it looks pretty awesome.
I do want to, one last little audio cue is that this is the same yell given in this explosion that he causes was the last minute when he blows up a guy. It's that same, oh!
Wait, let me try. Let me try.
That's the same one. So to me, is this like some kind of Groundhog Day situation? Is this the same guy coming back and being blown up by Punch? Like Groundhog Minute, not even Groundhog Day. Just
well, I think they go to yelling school. Actually, there's a specific style. Yeah, so that you don't hurt your voice, even in death. You want to preserve those golden vocal cords.
How do you preserve those golden vocal cords, speaking as an actor, Allan?
Well, you support with your diaphragm, and you make sure that you've got a good bass, and it's really more of a it's not a scream so much as it is just a loud yell.
Oh, okay. Can you
I don't want to blow out your speakers, but these guys have to do this over and over again. I'm watching it right here. Yep, you're right. Tree gets all shot up. This is beautiful. Yes.
Yeah.
And how come they always go face first? It's like an international diving competition. You never see anybody go ass first or do like a sideways spiral. Then here comes the Burning Man, right? A bunch of hippies are standing around celebrating. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. They always just do a front flip right off there, and it's always like a nice, perfect single rotation, like 180 onto their back.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's as if you were going to do a belly flop in a community pool. Is kind of what they're doing. Their arms flung wide, and
you kind of chicken out the last moment. You're like, I'm going to land on my back. It's cool.
All right. So after we get fake Poncho blowing up the second story of the Palapa, one of my favorite parts of this minute, we cut to our man, Jesse Ventura, Blaine, walking right through the jungle, right?
Yeah, with Old Painless. Old Painless is waiting.
Old Painless is waiting.
Old Painless. And my favorite part about his little walk right here is right as it starts, a massive explosion goes on, like literally right behind him. Like Forrest Gump running out of the forest right behind him. And what does he do? He turns around for like half a second as if a little fly had landed on his shoulder, slows down, and what does he do, John?
He hawks a huge tabanki loogie just
That's right.
to his side like, yeah, I ain't got time for this explosion. I've stuff to do.
Yeah, hawks a big tobacco loogie, and then immediately we see a couple gorillas coming up on him and pulls out motherfucking Old Painless.
So have you figured out if that's an actual gun that exists in the world, or is that just something they cooked up for Hollywood cooked up?
John, I'll let you take this one.
Yeah, this is the M134A General Electric minigun, capable of firing 6,000 rounds per minute. I believe it's 7.62 millimeter ammo they're firing. Not normally, but just
always.
Anytime this weapon has been used before this movie, it has purely been mounted like on helicopters, tanks, APCs, naval ships.
John,
it has never.
You got to stop. You're giving some hillbillies an orgasm over here.
It's
a bunch of
some
dudes in
interesting
overalls
stuff.
did just have to change their pants.
Okay, alrighty. Disturbing imagery. I guess I started it.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
But this is a real gun, yeah. And Jesse Ventura takes a lot of pride in being the first person ever to hold this weapon.
And nobody's going to have to teach me how to fire the most awesome weapon, handheld, the world has ever seen.
And fired on screen, even though, of course, it's firing blanks, and even though it's slowed down by, I think, 75% for the filming, because otherwise, if they tried to film this, it would just not be shown as spinning at all, just because it'd be spinning so quickly.
Am I hallucinating, or was there something similar in Aliens?
You're hallucinating.
Okay, good. And I'm not drinking anything, so.
No, we've talked a bit about how this gun would never actually be used as a handheld weapon. It would literally be impossible. With the amount of rounds that it's firing, it would be impossible to carry enough ammo. And it's just the kickback and the weight of it is completely impractical. But makes perfect sense to just kill these two gorillas with it. because why not? It's like it's killing a fly with a chainsaw.
In a future minute, not to be mentioned, it sets a tree on fire. I mean, is that because it's so hot? The rounds it's shooting out are so hot, or is that just Hollywood BS?
That's just Hollywood BS.
That's the
idea. Yeah, that's the idea. Is that normally you'd be having to fire some kind of special round for that to cause fire.
All right, so that part's really satisfying. We get to see Old Painless come out again.
Old Painless is waiting.
Mm-hmm. Makes a great sound. Like kind of like a vacuum cleaner and a chainsaw mixed up or something like that.
Yeah, so we should pause for just a minute and talk about just the overall sound design of this minute is pretty impressive because there is a lot of stuff going on here, and they're very quickly moving from shot to shot to shot. And we were talking before we recorded about how this minute's almost overwhelming in its frenetic pace and really loud sound that's coming at you the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also kind of awesome.
Yeah, and Allan, I think you're talking about in your own notes something about the whole point of this whole scene.
Yeah. Well, we have to see them being, real badasses and being able to take out a much, much larger force because that makes them more credible victims for the predator later on. They're not just just some group of street punks with switchblades. I mean, these are the biggest and baddest, paramilitary types we have, and they just get eaten up.
Yeah, that's a good point. I do think that this scene does establish, we talked about this a little bit last minute, John, is the scene does establish them as being kind of the best of the best. And, and it gives the predator a little more credibility when he starts just, like you said, Allan, taking them out one by one with really no problem.
Yeah, making them look like a bunch of street toughs with switchblades, as you said. And I would agree with that. Like just kind of making them look like amateurs.
Although, and in watching it again, he's clearly got the advantage of being invisible. And it's only when somebody else in the movie, in case you haven't seen it, also becomes invisible that it kind of evens the scales a bit.
That's true.
Yeah, it takes some balancing there, and takes some like figuring out and then inventiveness on Dutch's part for sure to start evening those odds. And I mean, he makes that discovery totally by accident later on. Just one of those whoops, like I can't believe I kind of backed into that one.
So these two guerrillas just meet their eventual and inevitable demise.
Probably painful demise.
Painful, yeah. It's ridiculous how much ammo he spends on these two guys. But then, so then we quick cut, and we've got Dylan running through the forest, running through the chaos. There's fire burning behind him. He's going left and right and left and right. And then all of a sudden, we get another shot of a stuntman on fire, flailing his arms around. Yeah.
Easy pickings right here for Dylan, right?
Either that or it's Jason Voorhees. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, finally doing what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to just shoot him when he's on fire. Yeah. Just run away.
He is kind of doing that again, that classic stuntman, just sort of like stumbling out on fire. But he's also kind of firing his weapon haphazardly around, right?
How do you say stop, drop, and roll in Spanish?
Alto or something like that.
None of these guys, I mean, they do the absolute worst thing you can do if you're on fire, which is to start fanning themselves,
waving their arms,
taking gunfire, trying to continue the fight. That is someone dedicated.
Yeah, they probably have like napalm cologne on it. Anyway.
So Dylan puts this poor bastard out of his misery. Yeah. And after he shoots him down, turns. What does he yell here, John?
He yells, "Stop on your knife!" Dutch turns right around, does a 180, and he shoots two guys right in the back. It's just like is like the merciless minute right here. It's just I mean, mercy.
Yeah.
I mean, for one, I don't think on your 9 is how it you would be calling that out? I think you'd be saying on your 6, because that's right. Your clock position,
right
like 12,
you,
6.
Yeah.
Right. 9 would be like to your left a little bit.
They don't yell man on.
Right. Car back. Gorilla back.
Yeah, so on your 9 would mean like 90 degrees to your left,
yes.
right?
But he turns
Dylan
straight around.
Full 180. And you're right, just completely first degree murders these guys right in the back. Bap, 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 bap. We get some nice squibs here and some good blood splatter. That's pretty awesome.
Oh, it's wonderful. Nobody's having some kind of cheap death here in this guerrilla raid. Everybody's being right on fire, then shot, or shot in the back with plenty of squibs, blown into the air. Just
oh man,
blown up in a chopper. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's just Dutch just chews up their backs, and we get a couple good squib explosions. It cuts really quick to Dylan, who gets in on the action just for good measure. He fires a bunch more rounds at these guys right at their backs.
He's just kind of firing into the,
Yeah, I'm just talking about like the real quick shot of him just firing.
Camera left, just into the general melee.
Right, I'm just going to get some of this. And then continuing with the frenetic camera movement, we cut right back to Mac.
Yep.
Mac! And he's kind of traipsing through the jungle here. I really like this sequence because there's like gunfire and explosions. And Mac is firing his gun seemingly without looking.
It's just like walking.
And it's literally like a 3-second cut. I'm looking right at it.
Right. And stuff's blowing up around him, and he just does not seem to give a shit about anything. Like, he's just kind of wandering through, firing left and right.
And then it's back to Poncho, and 3 seconds later. It's amazing.
Yeah,
right.
We see Mac. First kind of indiscriminately firing, just camera right as he approaches the camera, and then he turns to his right, and there's a gorilla who maybe thought he had him totally caught off guard.
It's blasted.
It's just blasted by Mac's M60. So we're seeing all the kind of signature weapons in this minute.
Yeah, that's a pretty great shot. He kind of turns that corner, a gorilla comes right into center frame and just backwards. And then, Allan, you're right. We quickly cut back to Poncho firing another grenade.
Yeah, with like a double explosion here? I don't know. I guess this is the center of the palapa, and Dylan totally gives like a little nod, like, yeah, that was good.
He does. Yeah, it happens really fast. We go Poncho, and then boom, palapa explosion, and then back to Dylan. And Dylan just nods.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, and then Dylan's shooting. It looks like, to me, the two same guys that we saw last minute who Dutch was shooting by the chopper, and who I explained were like shown in the behind the scenes footage of like doing this extended, over dramatic, like long take of being shot by the bullets. And yeah, I think they just must have continued using that shot for at least the up close part of Dylan
doing the death wobble.
Yeah, the death wobble.
Yeah.
I'm looking up palapa is a Spanish word of Malayan origin, meaning pulpous leaf, is an open-sided dwelling with a thatched roof made of dried palm leaves. That would explain why the open-sided roof of thatched palm leaves keeps exploding and catching on fire.
These are some very, very flammable, combustible palapas.
That's a good point, Allan. I think all these palapas must have just a big old barrel of fuel right in the middle of them.
The whole thing is one big fuel dump.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of napalm set up.
Well, if you're a guerrilla, you want to do that. You want to surround yourself with explosives and flammables as much as possible.
Yeah, and if you look at Dylan when he's doing his little nod after Panchito's double explosion, there are like literally flaming barrels behind him, just a ton of them.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
and there's gouts of flame even in the air, like it's raining flame.
Like hell has visited now the guerrilla camp. His day of reckoning.
Oh man, this minute just doesn't stop. All right, so we got the two guys doing the death wobble, and then we cut back to Dutch, and Dutch gets in on the action. I feel like Dutch has just been sitting here this whole time, just blowing stuff up from his little perch.
Yeah, we see him fire the grenade launcher and blow up another palapa looking very similar to Panchito's blow up, but I don't know.
Another fuel-filled palapa.
Yep. I think it might be the same shot that Panchito. Oh, it's totally the same shot that Panchito has like 2 seconds earlier.
Yeah, they did reuse
oh my God,
it.
You're right. I'm looking at it. Yeah, it is the exact same shot. Just, yep, it is.
There's nothing different.
Awesome.
They don't even add a yell like, "Wah!"
Right. Yep, just another exploding palapa. Well, that's expensive to do. They just got to reuse them.
Yeah.
And when you're only showing it for half a second,
Hey, so,
it's pretty impressive, though, just from a movie-making standpoint. These explosions are really good.
yeah, I mean, they take tons of time to set up, and right, by and large, you're only blowing up something this big one time, and you're hoping to catch the best explosion and the best effects on camera.
Yeah, you only have to shoot it from several different angles so that the one event looks like 5 different explosions.
Hey, speaking of which, so Allan, I was going to ask you, is that we're going to ask Jeff?
Yeah, I think so. Go ahead, John.
I was going to say, Allan, you've had some acting creds in the old biz. I was wondering have you ever been on set when they exploded something?
I was on set when they dropped a piano from the top of a crane into a parking lot.
Whoa! Was this like
that's awesome
for a movie or a commercial?
It was a Taco Time commercial, and so. First, I get hit by a piano almost drops on my head, so I duck out of the way, and that's the one that they did a green screen with that when they dropped it. But then the next time I look up and the piano's not falling on my head, and I think, hey, I've avoided it, and it crashes into my side and knocks me halfway across the screen. Then in the next commercial, I got struck by lightning on a golf course. So.
Oh my gosh! Nice. You're gonna have to send us the links, otherwise I'm gonna have to find it.
Oh no, no, that's easy to do. Yeah. Okay. The closest I came, I was making some films in high school, and I'm a little older than you two guys combined, and and I was doing practical effects with black powder. We were making explosions. I went to a private school. What can I say? And we were making explosions down by the soccer field, and I had this line of long black powder, and I thought, I'm going to light it just like in the movies, and it'll be a fuse, like in the Wild Wild West or something, and it wouldn't go off, and it wouldn't go off. So I held it naturally close, and it went off of my hand. And I had the worst. The whole back of my hand was just like a giant water blister for weeks. I'm lucky I didn't blow it off completely. But you know what they say? Boys do stupid things.
That's what they say. They blow up their hands.
Yes, I can assure you it's a painful experience. So anyway, 25 minutes and 42 seconds in.
Yeah, here we are. So. What was the last explosion? Okay, so Dutch blowing up that palapa.
A lot of explosions.
We get the second shot. So many explosions. Okay, now we cut back to the confused guys in the chopper.
Yeah, we have Mars guy and the pilot, and
see our Mars guy again. Yeah,
get your ass to Mars.
He's yelling at the pilot as if the pilot should really need any kind of urgency from someone else to.
It's kind of giving him a thumbs up.
Yeah, it's like, we're gonna go up. Yep, Dutch and Dylan say, "Yep, you're gonna go up," and they feed him some lead and some explosives and blow up that chopper. It's very
oh my God,
eye for an eye, as someone might say.
Yeah, and these guys, they get it bad. Like Dylan just unloads right through the front window of the chopper, and we get a whole bunch of blood squibs popping. And then we cut right back to Dutch, who's like, that's not good enough, and blows the whole fucking thing up with his grenade launcher.
Laying waste, just leaving, no human life.
No doubt.
Unscathed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no witnesses.
No witnesses.
So he just destroys... We'll come back and talk about this. Like, destroying the chopper like that, maybe it wasn't the best idea, but in the moment, I guess he couldn't resist.
Yeah, someone from the Facebook page on the Predator Minute podcast page mentioned his name is Brad. He says, it makes me wonder in hindsight if blowing up the chopper was a good move, because kind of blowing up their escape route. Like, uh-oh.
Yeah, well, if they'd done that, there wouldn't have been any predator, right? I mean,
right.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense in the narrative.
It was convenient short-sightedness.
Convenient,
and they are mad because you're right. And they are. You're right. It is an eye for an eye because the guerrillas destroyed their chopper, and in their minds, in that moment, they're probably like, "Well, I'm going to blow up yours."
Yeah.
Payback time.
All right, so we get the exploded chopper, bits flying everywhere. Ooh, we get another nice stuntman on fire.
This would be the pilot I'm taking, or supposed to be the pilot. Who knows?
He does drop to the ground. He might be stopped dropping and rolling.
I don't know.
He falls out the door. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine like a stuntman on fire would probably be immediately cut away from so that they can douse him, hose him off, extinguish him.
Right. And at the very end of the minute, we cut back to who is that's shooting these two guerrillas through the smoke?
This would be Panchito and Hawkins, and some more beautiful squib work right here. I mean, you're seeing like the backs of these guys just explode just dozens of times as they're totally taking lots of fire. And one of my favorite little things I noticed about the guerrilla camp sequence here is that a lot of the guerrillas, when they're going down, when they're fallen due to explosions or taking fire, are at the last second firing their weapon kind of haphazardly, like into the air off to the side. And these guys are doing the same thing. I don't know if that's added digitally later. It kind of looks like it is because there's not always sound to go with it, but these guys have it like they'll fall on their backs, and as Panchito and Hawkins are running past them, the one gun is kind of pointed up in the air from one of the guerrillas, and it's firing a couple rounds.
You're right. The squib work is awesome here. It reminds me of RoboCop a little bit, in its kind of over the top. Like each guy has a whole bunch of squibs firing off simultaneously, and but it's to great effect. I love it here. I love the over the top ness of it, if that's a word.
I think so. And this is actually, if this is still Craig Baxley filming, then it kind of goes against what John McTiernan, the director, was saying, where it's all static shots. The camera is actually moving some, and there's some depth to the shot. So it kind of makes me think, I wonder if John McTiernan was actually secretly filming some of these little cuts where, you have some depth, you have some creative filming going on, but I don't know. Never know. According to John McTiernan, it's just all Baxley and static shots, and I don't know. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the crew laying waste to the guerrilla camp.
Oh yeah, no, this is fantastic, and we get a couple more minutes of this as we move through this takedown of the guerrilla camp. The carnage will continue, boys and girls. Don't you worry.
Yeah, and speaking of carnage, this is where in the script we have a little bit of difference. In the original script, the 1985 script, originally called Hunter. There's a couple changes. First off, there's no chopper in the original script. The Predator is basically watching all this happen, so it's cutting back and forth between the camp and the Predator's viewpoint in the script, which I think is fascinating, but I think takes away from what Allan was talking about and showing these guys as total badasses taking up the camp. Because it's kind of like, oh, wait, I'm supposed to be thinking about this Predator thing too, but in the movie, it's like, you're not at all. It's like, I'm just thinking about the team.
Right.
And then lastly, the big change is that Dutch originally is going into combat with a team of 9 and not 7. There are actually 3 characters that are eventually amalgamated in the movie into Hawkins. There's Hawkins, Murphy, and a character named Dylan. And Dylan in the script is not the same Dylan we see in the movie. Dylan in the script is, I have it right here. Dylan in the script is the radio man and the medic that catches Panchito's tape in the chopper ride with the quick reflexes. Hawkins in the script is the rookie, and Murphy in the script is this Irish street fighter. Speaking of street fighters with switchblades,
wow,
from the Bronx, who tells dirty jokes, and they're all kind of mashed into this character of Hawkins. In the story.
They should have left the Irish guy in.
But here's the thing: Hawkins and Murphy, these guys in the script, they die right here in the guerrilla camp, which is totally taking you back. Like, whoa, this team isn't so cool, isn't so bad as we're meant to think as in the movie.
Oh, well, I guess that makes sense. And then this is where we pick up the hot chick, of course.
Yeah, in a couple minutes, we pick up Anna, who they refuse to kill for whatever reason.
Because she's a
who has
lady.
alarmingly good English, it turns out.
Yeah, maybe she's just learning the enemy's language. It's Cold War times.
She's a quick learner, yeah.
So a couple minutes ago, when the kill count really started ramping up in the movie, I was keeping track on the documents, and figured we had about approximately 38. But by the time this minute starts, so 38 either on screen or off screen alluded to deaths in this movie. And then in this minute alone, we have 16 more just throwing on the pile. We have 3 by Panchito stunt double firing the grenade. We have 2 by minigun, 1 by Dylan giving a flaming mercy kill, 2 that Dutch shoots in the back, 1 by Max M60 machine gun, 3 by Dylan shooting by the chopper, 2 by Dutch and Dylan in the chopper, 2 by Panchito and Hawkins next to the stairs.
Wait, are you counting the guy that got killed twice?
Oh yeah,
sure.
Because
okay,
I think they are. All right. I'm sure the team is.
Yeah.
16 in 1 minute. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would the dwarf in the Lord of the Rings say though? Still only counts as one.
That still only counts as one.
Right.
Still counts as one.
Yeah. So a lot of these guys died by explosions. We got a lot of explosions in this minute, and it got me thinking.
Yeah.
It got me thinking about some of my favorite movie explosions in action films. So I took a second and I just brainstormed some of my favorite movie explosions. I thought I'd run them by you guys. And this is by no means a definitive list. I don't even think it's really a top 5 or top 10 list or whatever. It's just...
Sorry, can you say that like I'm not saying this is a definitive list?
What are you trying to do, John?
Not cut around your words.
I'm not saying this is a definitive list, but it's a definitive list. I don't exercise. It's a masterpiece. These are some explosions from action movies that I thought of off the top of my head that are some of my favorites.
Ooh, do you kind of want to round table it? Like you do one, Allan does one, I do one?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Teacher style.
Yeah, should I go first then?
You shall.
Okay. First on my list is from one of my favorite 90s action films, Demolition Man.
Yeah.
And at the end of the film, Simon Phoenix's hideout, played by Wesley Snipes, explodes in a massive explosion caused from the inside out. And the camera pulls away and you see just the entire compound blow up. And it's pretty magnificent. So Simon Phoenix's compound from Demolition Man. There's mine.
Love it. Kaboom.
Kaboom.
Allan?
I'm going to go with the White House in Independence Day.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Just because how often do we get to see the White House annihilated to nothing, turned to ash? Yeah, so that was a fun one.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
nice.
That's a good one.
No connection to how we feel about the White House today at all, right, Allan?
No.
No.
No politics here.
No politics. We do have 2 governors in this.
That's right.
In this movie, but in this scene alone, or in this minute, but we're not talking politics.
All right, John, give me an explosion. What do you got?
Yeah, I was digging a little bit. I was looking kind of deep. One of these kind of early 90s thrillers starring Pierce Brosnan called Live Wire. I don't know if you guys ever saw that one.
No.
Oh, you have to watch it just because the gimmick of the movie is that the bad guys totally plant explosive causing water, in people's water bottles and such. So if they want to like create this terrorist act, they just have to make sure this special water bottle is in that person's possession and it'll just cause the person's body to turn into a human bomb. It is crazy. I did just watch little bits and pieces on YouTube not too long ago and I was thinking, oh, those are some good explosions. And it's such a creepy it's such a creepy conceit that, right, like your normal everyday like life depending fluid right? It could be something lethal to you and a whole bunch of other people. And there's some really good explosions. And my favorite one is there's a scene in the courtroom where they plant some water on the judge, and then whoever this is, the bad guy, wants to take out the informant in the court, and the judge, just her eyes turn all red, and then she explodes, taking out the whole courtroom. It's pretty explosive.
Oh, awesome.
Jeff?
Oh, it's back to me.
Back to you.
All right. So, what's another good one on here? Oh, one of my favorites. The hospital explosion from The Dark Knight.
Yeah, Dark Knight.
Remember that scene?
I do.
Yeah, if anyone out there has forgotten, it's when the Joker is planting the bomb in the hospital and he's leaving, and the hospital. What's great about it is it's a slow roll explosion. Like, you get a bunch of small explosions that are going off, and then there's a pause, and the Joker looks down at his transmitter device and thinks that something's wrong and hits the button over and over again. And then all of a sudden the explosions start up again. And then the whole thing explodes in a pretty massive fireball. It's pretty great. So that's a good one from The Dark Knight.
Yeah, that is a good one. Yeah.
I have a couple of short ones. One is, I had to look this up. There's a movie called Zabriskie Point. Are you familiar with this?
Yes.
Yeah. And there's a big explosion set to Pink Floyd. So that sounds pretty good.
Oh, they just blow that hillside mansion just sky high. It's great.
Yeah.
I don't know this. I'm going to have to look it up.
But I did want to, give one to Good, the Bad, and the Ugly when they blow up the bridge, separating the Union and Rebel forces. That's a pretty cool one.
Nice.
John,
you got another one?
Yeah, I'll do a quick two-parter, both from the same movie, Return of the Jedi. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. And to me, the second time they blow up the Death Star, right, is I don't know. I always found it way more satisfying of an explosion. It's almost like a glass balloon exploding the second time around. The first time around, it's really more for the early particle effects, and this time around, I feel like they really mastered just the sound and the explosion and the whole effect of what that would look like. And the lead up to that is the shield generator being blown up on Endor. It just goes up in this massive fireball, from the skyline perspective of the trees and the satellite dish, and the whole thing just erupts in this beautiful flame.
Yeah, that's a good one. Very nice.
Yeah. Jeff?
How about the bus running into the plane explosion at the very end of Speed?
Ah, yes.
That's a good one. Love that one. Keanu saves the day.
It's just a nice explosion.
Yeah, bus running into the plane with the bomb on it, and you get that classic sort of orange fireball. It's great.
I've got, how about Monsieur Creosote in The Meaning of Life?
Oh, good one.
It's just Wefelfin. And then his whole body explodes all over the restaurant, spewing vomit on everyone in the joint.
Oh, that's good. I have one on my list that's similar in style, so I'll bring that one.
I like the non-traditional explosion.
Yeah. That's awesome. Nice.
I'm sticking with an Arnold theme here, the movie True Lies, where he's there's lots of great explosions in that movie, but my favorite has to be the one that goes along with his one-liner of, here's my invitation, and he presses a little button, and some huge explosion goes on in the background, and that's when the whole attack starts. It's kind of similar to attacking the center of the Palapa here in this movie.
May I see your invitation, please?
Sure. Here's my invitation.
Yeah, dude, there's a bunch of good explosions in that movie, like when they fire the jet missiles at the bridge.
Yeah,
man,
on the Keys Bridge.
Yeah, Key West, whatever that highway is.
He says you're fired, and he shoots the missile with the terrorist into the helicopter full of other terrorists.
Right. And then he says, "You're fired."
Yeah, you're fired.
We can't do an homage to the best explosions without mentioning the one of the worst, which is when the pie tin flying saucer catches fire in Plan 9 from outer space. I don't know if you've seen this or not, but it looks like it's like a pie tin in there, and it's on a fishing line or something, and it's got sterno on it, and it suddenly just has this really breezy flame to it, and inside we see the aliens are struggling, and then we go back outside, and it's the most we've got 6th graders who are capable of better special effects.
Oh yeah,
I've heard Plan 9 is a classic B movie. I've never actually seen it, but I've seen.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not, but I've seen clips. I've seen a clip of that scene that you're describing, so I know what you're talking about.
Got some of the greatest dialogue ever written.
Right.
I mean, one of the lines, "We are all concerned with the future, for that is where you and I are going to spend the rest of our lives." Anyway, it's just deliciously bad in every way that it could possibly be.
Oh, I'll have to check that out as well. I've not seen that movie.
All right, should I go? I got I got a couple more if we want. So sticking with your non-traditional explosions there, Allan, I'm gonna say the head explosion in Scanners.
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah. Doesn't that happen in The Fury also?
Yeah. Yes, it does. Yeah, Brian De Palma. Yeah. This head explosion happens in the first, 15 minutes or so of the movie Scanners, a classic. It's been turned into a GIF, and you can find clips of it all online. It's kind of one of the most famous pieces of practical effects ever done. But that's a good explosion, like an exploding head. Scanners, check it out.
It reminds me too of the guns in District 9.
Oh yeah,
the way they just sort of liquidate people.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right, should we round this out? Do you guys want to kind of list off the rest of ours that we might have as quick honorable mentions?
Sure. Yeah, I got some honorable mentions.
Allan, do you have any others you wanted to just rattle off real quick?
No. I'll let you take center stage.
All right, John, do you have any others you want to rattle off?
Yeah, the only one I have left is another non-traditional from Big Trouble in Little China. It's where I believe Thunder blows up. He's just so upset that Lopan has been killed by Jack Burton that he goes all Cabbage Patch or Garbage Pail Kids.
That's a good one. Nice.
He expands and blows up, and what looks like a bunch of spinach and vegetables go flying out of him.
He looks like a puffer fish.
Yeah,
there is the shark in Jaws.
Yes.
Similar.
Yeah, that's good too. All right, I had a handful that I listed here. I'll just run through them really fast. The Cyberdyne Systems building in Terminator 2.
Oh, so good.
The truck explosion in the third act of Mad Max Fury Road. The helicopter rescue scene in The Matrix. The napalm explosion in Apocalypse Now.
Classic.
Yeah. When the bad guy compound in Spectre, the James Bond film, blows up. That's a pretty massive explosion. And that I looked up, did a quick research online to see if I had missed any like kind of big ones. And apparently that Spectre explosion was in the Guinness Book of World Records for kind of the largest pyrotechnics ever done in a film.
Oh wow!
I kind of like the Tony Stark one when he's in Afghanistan and he, the mountain range behind him, and he lifts his arms and the whole mountain range blows up.
Right. And I know there's a whole bunch out there that I've left off the list. Like you could do an entire podcast on best movie explosions. So anyone out there listening, I'm sorry if I left off your favorites, but those are just a few that I thought of. It's a definitive list.
Yeah. All right.
That's pretty thorough.
Cool. So I think we're kind of capping off the end of the minute here. And at this point, we kind of at this point, we throw it around to our guest first, and we'll ask you, Allan, what's your history with the movie Predator?
Well, I'm pretty sure it came out before you two were born.
That's not true.
That's not true. That's impossible.
Come on, fess up. How old were you?
I was 7.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I loved it. I loved it. I surprised how much I enjoyed it. I watched it again yesterday for the umpteenth time. And every time you watch it, of course, you see new things, or you have little logical questions like, how is that possible? Or why do they make that choice? But it's a popcorn movie. It's not supposed to be Hamlet, So it's great. And I've been dying for a good Alien versus Predator, but we've never really had one to my satisfaction.
No.
Because I think it's more of a straight-up one-on-one battle. But in all the movies I've seen, Predator just wades through the aliens, like they're nothing.
Yeah, and they're always throwing humans in the mix, like just meat. That's not very fun.
Those have been very disappointing. Yeah.
Well, we are meat.
We're delicious. So, you being an actor, Allan, I have to ask, who stands out to you, if anybody, in this movie as showing off acting chops, or who's like really, do you see anybody like trying to stretch themselves? Because a lot of these guys are not your traditional actors.
The guy who fascinates me the most is Sonny, the guy who plays Billy.
Yeah.
And I was reading his bio, and I want to go back, and he was in Warriors, which is another great movie that I got to go back and watch. I mean,
Warriors, come out to play.
It's like any of those things, though. If you're given the chance, as Schwarzenegger has been, over and over and over again, and you're moderately intelligent, you're going to get decent at it. I mean, they're good enough to be believable, and I think that's what's required. They're not being asked to do Sweeney Todd or King Lear.
Right.
The primary resume cred is huge bulging muscles.
I've talked to John a bit about how I think that Arnold is somewhat underrated as an actor in the sense that he does a lot of these roles where he doesn't have a ton of lines. He has to do a lot of visual acting, and I feel like he pulls it off pretty well. I think there's a reason why he was became such the movie star that he did in the late 80s and early 90s. He does have a screen presence. It's hard to deny.
Yeah, I felt like in later films, he got a better grip on the humor.
Yeah.
There are a bunch of stick around. He stabs the guy in minute 27 or 28 with the knife. Stick around.
Stick around.
So close.
And that it didn't have the same humor as some of the earlier or some of the later movies where he's really got it down. But I agree. And also the director does a great job of using his sort of sideways glances. Over and over you see his eyes before you see anything else, and he turns and you just you think he's a beast. So
he's the real Predator.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
I'm kind of disappointed that he wasn't in any of the sequels too,
Right.
Yeah.
Kind of like a Ripley thing. Like he really had a score to settle with Predators in general, but he never got the opportunity.
Yeah, and I'm on that same line of disappointment. I've always been disappointed he's not in more like team or group based situations. It's from here on out, it's pretty much solo for him until he hits like Expendables, and by then it's like way far gone. He's way far gone that prime, but I think he would have been way like such a good, piece of an ensemble, but there's no way that ego would allow for that, I think.
Yeah. Although I feel like, and I don't know why I feel this, but I feel like he's less egotistical than some of the other people in the same genre.
Yeah, I would agree with that. If you look at,
I agree.
Some of the people in this movie, even like Sven Ole Thorsen, Arnold brought him on to say, "Hey, like you're my buddy. I want to give you a hand here." And brings on Sven, and then later Arnold movies, like some of his other buddies hop in the fray, and some of them, have a decent start because of Arnold.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
All right, so are we ready to talk recommends? Each week we kind of talk about something we've seen on the TV or a movie or, I don't know, a product we're enjoying lately that's, hey, we have to share this, or a restaurant or a cool website or a podcast that you are just dying to tell people about?
So I'm not hypothetically allowed to pitch, say, a book or something that I might have accidentally written in my spare time.
Hey, we're here to provide the Predator Minute Bump to you, Allan. So
that's right.
So pitch away. So we didn't mention to our listeners that Allan is not only a teacher, not only an actor, not only a comedian, but also an author. So what do you got on the docket for us these days, Allan?
So I've written a series called Immortal Treachery, and it's kind of like the minute we just described. Frankly, it's imagine if you put Conan the Barbarian in minute 26 of Predator. It's steel, it's blood, and it's fire. It's about the most vicious, ruthless, undefeatable person in the world. He's bloodthirsty, he's arrogant, he's mean, and he's the good guy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you can find that on Amazon or wherever books are sold or shoplifted.
So what's the name of the series?
Immortal Treachery, and the first book is Steel, Blood, and Fire. But I did see a trailer for something that I really want to see. It might not be to your taste because I don't think anyone dies in it, but it's called, it's coming out in May. It's called Yesterday. And it imagines a world in which the Beatles never existed.
Whoa.
And except this one guy is aware of them and everything they ever wrote. So he starts passing it off as his own, and he becomes this world famous rock star, and Ed Sheeran is in it as kind of a sidekick, and what's her name from Saturday Night Live, who does all the impressions, she's in it as a ruthless record company executive. It's called Yesterday.
Wow.
Awesome.
So if you're into the Beatles, and if you're into sort of alternative history fiction and crazy romances, it doesn't have any blood or gore or explosions. He gets all of his teeth knocked out, though. In the inciting incident, all the power in the world goes out for a second. He's on his mountain bike, and he face plants into the asphalt, and it knocks all of his teeth out.
All right.
Anyway, so I can't wait to see this movie.
It sounds like a ton of fun, actually.
Yeah.
You're up.
Okay, so I'm going to recommend a movie that got a lot of buzz earlier in the year, and I finally caught up to it. That's called Sorry to Bother You. Have you guys seen this at all yet? Oh my gosh. Allan, I think in particular you would really like this one. It is hard to talk about the plot without giving away too much, but it's best to go into this movie with as little knowledge as possible about what it is about. To be very kind of vague, it's about a man who works for a company and gets promoted into that company, but upon doing so has to accept some things that the company is doing to the public, and he's an African American man, and he has to accept some of the things that the company is doing to other black people in his community, and it's very much in a what's a good kind of it's real meta. It's somewhat fantastical. It's kind of rooted in sort of a fantasy or maybe an alternate reality of our world. Magical realism is the genre that comes to mind, actually. But it takes some turns and twists that are very unexpected and kind of make you go WTF, but in a really good way. It's one of the most interesting movies I've seen this year. I really, really liked it. I don't want to talk more about the plot because, like I said, the less you know, the more fun it is.
Well, I don't know anything, so I must be having the time of my life.
So check out Sorry to Bother You, available on Blu-ray and on VOD at this point. It's fantastic. It's excellent.
Awesome. So I'll keep up with the theme of right? Something taking a turn, but being housebound over this last 2 weeks now due to Snowmageddon. Here in the Pacific Northwest, I've been watching a lot of cartoons with the old, the kiddos. And one cartoon that really took me by surprise was the latest iteration of Scooby-Doo. It's called Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. This is really for all the parents out there. But if you like your Scooby-Doo with like more of a serialized viewpoint where each episode there's kind of this overarching story going on throughout all 4 seasons, and right, you have this big crazy basically explosive finale, then check out Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. I don't want to give away too much other than there's a lot of good meta humor going on in the show where they're always like joking around about how Freddy likes the traps and Scooby and Shaggy are always falling for the Scooby snacks and all that kind of stuff. It plays off of those expectations, and it's something I really appreciated. And the voice acting is awesome. You have Matthew Lillard as Shaggy, which is hilarious. You have Lewis Black as a recurring character. I don't want to go too much in depth about plotting and all that, but I would recommend it if you're kind of stuck in the Snowmageddon or polar vortex or in the best weather you can imagine, and you're watching. Right, you're watching some cartoons. It's on Amazon Videos, so check it out.
Nice.
Yeah. And the last little bit here, Predator Minute, we ask our guests and co-host, where can we find you? So, Allan, where can people find you?
Oh, you can find me all over the web. It's almost impossible to avoid me. I'm on every single social network, and I'm actually usually more talkative, but I started on kind of a low note and on the wrong minute. And fought my way uphill the entire time, and here I am. I made it to the end. So
it was a great recovery, Allan. We really appreciate having you here. It was super fun.
No, it was, and I promise I will listen to more episodes. This actually would be a perfect thing to listen to if you're snowed in. This show.
I agree. There you go.
Right.
Let's put that up there, and you can watch the minutes and then listen to a couple minutes. And
you can find me at capital K Carl _ capital H Hungus 314.
My name is Carl. Ich bin expert.
At Twitter. You can also find me on the Instagram and the Facebook, but I am Jeff Glover. I'm out there. I don't exercise.
You are out there.
He's out there. And if you out there have some cool explosions that you want to talk about and have called out on the podcast, well, let us know. PredatorMinute@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter and Facebook. With all that said, I'm John Zabriskie.
I'm Allan Batchelder.
And I'm Jeff Glover.
And until next time,
stick around.
Stick around.
Closest money tree, please.
Sure. Been there a couple times myself. Nice place. You know, you look familiar. Do you work there or something?
Well, I've had my hands in their advertising.
I just gotta ask, how crazy do they have to be to come up with those ridiculous Caterpillar ads?
Money Tree, your cash solution.
Cut, beautiful, loving you. Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking. Check cashing, payday loans, and more. Money Tree.